when you go to buy businesses, you don't look only at the sector or industry or type of business. Instead, you're like, where do I have an unfair advantage? I'm always asking myself, where do I have an unfair advantage? I do not have an unfair advantage if I go to MLS or Zillow and I just look at what real estate houses are already out there and then I buy them, right? Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But I do have an unfair advantage if I can find a house that isn't listed, right? If I'm like door knocking, or if I find a house at auction, right? That could
Yes.
be an unfair advantage.
Yes.
So in business buying, I do the same thing. And then I don't really care if it's a laundromat, if it's a car wash, auto body shop, a towing company, a chair manufacturing company. It could be anything boring.
Text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. TikTok, you don't stop. I will help you make your paper stack. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at now? 205-964-5243. Now you know. 205-964-5243. Now you know.
Hello, guys. This is Ty, a.k.a. The Flip Man. And today, this morning, I have a special guest here, a young lady that is an entrepreneur at heart, and she goes about it in a unique way. And her story is very, very unique in how she's gotten to this point. So we're here to share with you on buying businesses. Obviously, my channel deals with real estate investing with a strong emphasis on wholesaling real estate. So, I'll be asking questions that can sort of mesh the two together. So how's it going, Codie?
Life's good, man. I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Again, I really appreciate you sharing this time with us. So initially, what I like to do is to try to get some initial background about the individual, and we'll build up to why we're here and on the topic. So if you could just give us an idea of who you are from, I guess, humble beginnings up till where we'll start talking about the business buying.
Sure. Well, I'm definitely still on my grind, but I started out, just like I think probably a lot of people. My dad was an immigrant, didn't get a chance to go to college. And, when I grew up, I didn't know much about money, honestly. I was maybe like other people in your audience. I didn't know what a 401k was, a mutual fund, like that would need a Google. I really wasn't sure much about what to do with money. And I was actually a journalist. I was an investigative journalist along the US-Mexico border. I was covering things like drug smuggling, human trafficking. I saw things probably we don't see too often in the US, in the city of Juarez, just the worst mutilation you can see on humans, one against another. And so I did that for a few years and felt like it was kind of pointless. I was writing these stories, we were getting the word out, we won a couple awards, and nothing was really changing. And I was like, my last name's Sanchez. These people's last name is Sanchez or Gonzalez or, whatever. And I have this life. I have a lovely life. And, even though we were very middle class back then and I was scraping together pennies, it was still awesome. And then we had these people right across the border that had this totally different life and they didn't really have a chance. And so I was like, what's the difference between the two of us? And the immediate reaction was money. And I was like, yeah, it's not race. It's not where we're based, because there are plenty of rich, wealthy Mexicans that live better lives than I do. But it was just that they had no access to capital. And I was like, well, I don't really understand money. I think if that's the difference between those with power and those without power, is not anything but the one language that we all speak, which is the green currency of money, then I better figure out cash and how to get it and how to make it and how to keep it and how to do it in a big way. So maybe I could help some others. And so I did that for a few years. I went right into investments. I started a firm called Vanguard, climbed a bunch of different firms from Vanguard to Goldman Sachs to State Street to finally running my own business in Latin America called First Trust, to being in private equity. I've done everything from investment banking to asset management to investing, my own dollars in more of a family office setting. But it all started with this question of, if I really want power, and I want power because I want freedom, then I need to understand money. And that brings me today, where now I have a media company where I talk about all the stuff I learned in finance, and I help people think critically in cash flow unconventionally and buy boring businesses or cash flow in ways they should have taught us but didn't.
Boom. All right. Very interesting. Just really quick, back to the and I'm sure you get this question a lot about when you were doing the journalism in Mexico. Did you fear for your life at any point? Because sounds like you were in like which I watch. I'm like addicted to Narcos on
Oh yeah.
Netflix. So like, you mean like that?
Yeah, I think when I was young and dumb, I was young and dumb.
Oh wow.
And so, I didn't really realize the risk. But yes, there are plenty. I mean, I've seen people shot, I've seen people cut with knives, I've seen people gutted, I've seen people hanging from freeways. I mean, I've seen many, many things. I was there one time. This was wild. You can look it up. I can't remember the exact year, but it was in Juarez, and there was this maximum security prison, and it would be like sort of like their version of like hardcore Sing Sing or something like that.
Mhm.
And that week that I was there in Juarez, the drug cartels, it was either Sinaloan or the Sonoran cartel leader was captured and arrested, and that same week like two or three what are those called? Apache helicopters with
Uh-huh.
anti-tank weapons came, blew up the prison, and the guy escaped. And I just thought, oh gosh, we're not in Kansas anymore. Like, this is pretty serious. But I don't know about you. I think more people need to do hard, scary things, because then when they're all worried about the stupid shit that people worry about today, and like, oh, this person offended me, or I didn't get the job, or this didn't, it's like, get over it. We've got way bigger problems, and we're not victims, we're victors. I just think we have a lot of opportunity here in the States we don't realize. And so we got to lean into that. And that's what I learned from being down there is, who cares if my last name's Sanchez? Like, I already have a leg up on most people, and I'm gonna
Right.
damn well use it.
I totally agree. And I've never been in an environment like that. But I come from just like some strong poverty, so
Yep.
I know what it is. Now, again, the danger didn't exist like it did for those there, and I'm sure our poverty is not like their poverty, So in other parts of the world, just real quick, we'll get off of that. What was the final draw for you?
Well, like, meaning, why did I want to get out of journalism?
Yeah, what was the final? I know it was probably a build up, but what was like the final thing for you? Like, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, to your point, a couple things. Like, for a period of time, we lived in a rough neighborhood in Washington, D.C. And so when you talk about poverty, I think there's like, it's all relative, right? I was in Mexico for a while, but I wasn't living there full time. I got to be this like tourist almost coming in and out. And I do think there's something to be said about like that consistent level of poverty where you're kind of like always looking over your shoulder. There's stuff going on. It's not that you got to be aware of yourself. There's like a tension that I felt when I lived in, neighborhoods that are rougher. And then there's also this like lack of people around you all lifting you up and like showing you the way. So I think there's all different levels of struggle. But yeah, the final straw for me was we wrote a story. We got a bunch of press. And then I went back. It was about this woman and people who were getting left along the border. It was called Los Abandonados, the abandoned.
Mhm.
And basically they were left in these derelict, really shitty old folks' homes. And so we wrote these stories about this happening, and there was an epidemic. And then we won all these awards. I went back to give some of the money and the awards to the people we wrote the stories about. And the woman I wrote the story about hadn't seen her family for like 20 years. She was having dementia. She was really in a terrible place. And I showed her all this stuff. And then her response was, oh, well, now that America knows, you guys are going to fix it, right? You guys are going to help me. And I was like, oh, and that's when I realized that I didn't want to just be a tourist. Like, I want to be able to make money, to make change, and be the powerful, not write about them. And so that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Okay, boom. All right. So you went through, I guess, the financial world with some of the larger firms that, even if you don't know anything about it, you may recognize some of the names, the brand names or whatever. But what caused you to get out of that world and to start to more do your own thing? I know you started your own firm, so let's get past that.
Yeah.
What made you start to target small businesses as far as a way of generating cash flow?
Yeah, well, I don't know if anybody relates to this, but for a long time, I loved what I did. Like, I really liked my job, and I really didn't feel a need to go start my own thing. I was learning a lot. I was making good money. I kept like getting promoted. It was cool. And then I had a bad boss, and I really
Mm.
hated him. And he was just a jerk, and we didn't get along. And so I think most people leave jobs because of bad leadership, you know? And and so I was like, okay, well, I need to replace the money that I'm making right now. And I don't want to quit. I have these like kind of golden handcuffs, and then I make some good money. And so how could I make some money on the side so that I can build up the courage to leave? I was too scared to leave,
Wow.
basically.
Okay.
And yeah, and so I was like, well, wait a second. For a living, I basically buy businesses for other people. That's what private equity is. We
Okay.
like take money from the bank, and we buy people's businesses, and then we restructure them, and we cash flow on them, or we sell them. And so I'm like, wait a second, I do this at a really big scale, and I make this guy that's a total doofus a bunch of money. And why can't I do it at a smaller scale for myself? And so I was like, oh, I'm going to start buying these little businesses and just try it. And like, let's, maybe I'll buy a business for $5,000, or I'll buy a business for $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Or the first business that I did, I just said, hey, you have a business that's already cash flowing. What if I help you grow that business by X amount for free? I won't charge you anything. Then can I have that amount in equity? So like if your business is making $10,000 a year right now, let's say that's it. And I'm like, I'm going to make your business make another $10,000 a year. Would you give me 50% of the company if I doubled the revenue of your business? And most business owners are like, sure, you can, if you only increase the business by 2 or 5%, it doesn't happen. But if you double the business or triple the business, I'll give you 20% of the business or whatever. So I said, okay, cool. I could do that without any money. And so that was my first deal. And then I started layering from there.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what type, if you don't mind sharing, what type of business was that first business that you did it on your own?
Yeah. So the first business was kind of in the media space. At the time I was in Latin America. And so it was, what was the name of the business? It was called Selling South. And it was basically like consulting on cross-border transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy was trying to sell like, hey, oh, you have a business and you want to sell into Mexico? I'll tell you how to do that. Right. And so I was like, well, I know about doing business in Mexico. Like I could bring in some clients for you, and you have the process to charge them things. Cool. And so that was the first business. And then I started doing it with lots of types, like plumbing companies and laundromats and landscaping firms, podcast production firms, and anything that I already used the service, or I knew the owner and I liked the service. I would start to think, how could I get a piece of equity of that company?
Oh, wow. Okay. And like, of which I'm not sure how I didn't say it in the beginning, but I don't know how I stumbled onto your content, but I just started consuming. Then I reached out to you all. But so I already know some of this stuff. So a lot of these questions are about to be asking for my own personal that's going to hit you all. So why? And I've heard you talk about plumbing companies. I think your uncle or someone had a company, and that was like your first like ding moment. And then you like laundromats. What was the other one? I know podcast. There was one more, I think you said.
I mean, car washes.
Car washes. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you target those because you feel, or the numbers say, not that you feel, but the numbers say that they're more recession proof than a lot of the other businesses, regardless of what's going on in the economy?
I do pay attention to that now, for sure. But I think one of the tough parts about buying businesses is like, so if you're going to go buy a real estate or a flip, right, or wholesale real estate or whatever you do, like you have parameters. You're like, okay, I'm going to spend $100K in this neighborhood, and here's the type of house, and here's what it needs to be, and here's the type of loan you do, and here's how you get the money. It's very like processized. When you go to buy businesses, when you're really good at it, you don't look only at the sector or industry or type of business. Instead, you're like, where do I have an unfair advantage? I'm always asking myself, where do I have an unfair advantage? I do not have an unfair advantage if I go to MLS or Zillow and I just look at what real estate houses are already out there and then I buy them, right? Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But I do have an unfair advantage if I can find a house that isn't listed, right? If I'm like door knocking, or if I find a house at auction, right? That could be an unfair advantage.
Yes.
So in business buying, I do the same thing. If I'm located in a small town, I might like try to know a bunch of the owners. And then I don't really care if it's a laundromat, if it's a car wash, if it's a, an auto body shop, a towing company, a chair manufacturing company. It could be anything boring.
No restaurants.
No restaurants, no retail companies, no hotels. Hotels I could be flexible on because I like owning some of the real estate, but no hotels, no Amazon FBA businesses or anything that's reliant on one platform, and no coaching or guru or individual personality businesses.
I got you.
But anything else, I'm open to it. And like you said, I just care what the numbers are. I just care, is it a boring business that is profitable, cash flows, has done it for a few years, and they want to sell it to me reasonably or give me a % of equity at a reasonable valuation?
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So whenever, and I guess a lot of those, it's easier to reach the decision maker.
Exactly. Exactly right.
All right. So, because that's what it's all about. Like you say, you could always look online and it's going to normally be a layer in between you and the decision maker. And are you really, and you could possibly negotiate something into a great deal, but same thing with real estate. That's why you when you mention off market, and I stress it so much because most people, when they get in this business, the first thing they want to do is go to online and see what's for sale, because that's what we do with everything. We go to the internet and look for it. But when you're dealing directly with the person that can make the decision and is not already advertised for sale, that gives you a leg up in so many ways as far as potential negotiations or whatever. In the day, the numbers still have to work. So I know you said about laundry mats. And since then, I really pay attention to them. There's one particular laundromat that I'll go to when I want to do something that I don't want to put in my washing machine or whatever. So, and this guy, the owner is in there all the time, and it looks like it's a really successful business for someone like him. Now, again, I don't know him, but it appears that he really has it going on with this location. How would you approach someone that probably really doesn't need the money or whatever? How do you go about approaching those individuals? And again, I don't know him. It's just what it appears to be.
Totally. Well, first of all, I think you have to realize why people sell businesses.
Okay.
So I don't technically need to sell any of my businesses, but I sell businesses all the time. And why do I sell businesses? Even if they cash flow and they're good businesses, because I have a better use for the money, right? I have a better opportunity. Same for houses. It's like you start at 100K, that house could be cash flowing. That's awesome. But now you want to take that 100K and you want to buy a $300,000 house and then a 500, right? You want to keep rolling. Same thing in business. So he may have started with a laundromat. He's like, man, I've been running this laundromat for 5 years. It makes me $50,000, $150,000 a year. That's awesome. But I see this, I don't know. I see a commercial laundry center that makes $1 million a year, and I know how to run this one, so I can level up. So never make an assumption that somebody doesn't want to sell their business. There's so many reasons why they do. And so with a guy like that, I'm the friendliest motherfucker out there. I'll talk to everybody, and everybody's just like, Codie's so friendly. And I'm like, I'm not that friendly. I'm actually trying to figure some few things out. I'm trying to figure out, who are you? Why do you do the things you do? Why is it important to you? And so with an owner like that, I would get to know him. I'd be like, oh my gosh, oh, you run this place. This is awesome. What's your name? How long you been doing it? Do you just own one? Oh, you own a ton? Awesome. Oh, wait, you're located in, I don't know, Charlotte. You live in Charlottesville, but this is actually located in Richmond. Wow, that's kind of a long drive. Do you do that drive? I'm trying to find those little pain points where I'm like, oh, this guy actually maybe would want to get rid of his business. And, or if he doesn't, I'm not trying to talk anybody into anything. You want to find the people who already want what you're selling, right? So if he doesn't want to sell to me, I'm like, do you know other people who own laundromats in the facility? What about this guy next door that owns this, I don't know, this handyman company. Do you know that guy? I love knowing business owners in my community. And then I get to know them all and I tell them one thing, like, you're the flip man, right? Great
Yeah.
marketing. If I want to flip something, I'm going to know who to go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I am the biz buyer. Why am I online talking about this all the time?
You're
Yes, I
looking.
like helping
Yeah.
people, but
Mm-hmm.
it's because people want to give me deals, right?
Yeah.
I get deals all day long in my inbox. And so you could do the same thing in your community. You're like, hey, I'm the flip man, but I also buy businesses now. I'm the business buying man in this neighborhood. And so you say, oh man, if you ever think about selling, like, that's what I do. I love making sure a community has strong business owners. So I buy businesses, man. Let's stay in touch. Who else should I talk to? That's how I would do it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. Okay. So, all right. So let's go through the process of buying a business. I know it's not a cookie cutter, but I'm sure there's some basics that have to be performed, just to even get to a point to know if it's an actual opportunity or not. So let's go through that process of buying a business.
Totally. So if you guys want to go deeper on this, you can go to unconventionalacquisitions.com. We really need a new name. Like, how many vowels are in that? There's like a lot of letters in that. Flipman is way better.
Hey, one thing, I'm good at coming up with names. We can talk.
Yeah, I'm going to call you next time and you're going to be like, Codie, not so many letters. So anyway, it's unconventionalacquisitions.com. And if you can find that on the internet, then there's a free newsletter in there on everything that I'm going to talk about. You guys can check that out. But
I'll have all that. Once I edit this, I'll put all that on the screen or whatever. So we'll be good. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you're going to help me out. You're my marketing guy. All right. So anyway, we talk about 10 stages to doing a deal. There's 10 steps to the M&A process that we teach. And it starts with what we're doing today. So we're already, after listening to your podcast, your people are going to be past step one. Step one is just what you said, like, whoa, this is a thing. I can buy businesses. This exists. It's knowing the opportunity. Step two is deal clarity. And that's like, how do you know what business you want to buy? Because different than real estate, with businesses, you need to understand what you want, what geography, how much money do you want it to make for you? How much money do you want to put down? What kind of business? Do you want to operate it? Do you want somebody else to operate it? So that's step two, deal clarity. And we have a little worksheet we give people in the course that basically walks you through everything you need to know. Then step three is selling yourself. So kind of like we just talked about, how do you talk to owners? How do you get them comfortable with you? How do you come off as confident? There's scripts and templates in there for exactly how to do it. And then step four is finding deals. It's called origination. That's the fancy term in private equity, but it's basically just, how do you find deals? And so we talk about, I don't know, probably 12 different ways that you can go and find deals in the marketplace. Then the next step is valuation. How do you know how much a business is worth? How do you value a deal? And so we have a deal calculator that you can use for a bunch of different deals to break it down. We have snapshots for some like case studies in businesses. We have interviews with business buyers. How did they figure out how much a business is worth? Then the next step is financing. So how do you pay for it? I don't have a ton of money. I don't have millions to buy for a business. And that's where we teach you about seller financing, SBA loans, equipment loans, all other people's money, all the different ways that you could finance a deal. And then we get into due diligence, which is a fancy way of saying, is the business really what you think it is? Is the owner lying to you? Are the numbers real? Do you know how to look at a good deal versus a bad deal? And that's called due diligence or underwriting. And that's a cool skill because it'll apply to everything for the rest of your life. Then we get into structuring, which is like the cool thing also about business buying. You can do a deal almost any way you want. You're only limited by your creativity. That's why I talk a lot about becoming a deal maker, because if you can become a deal maker, like I made my mom take this course because I'm like, Mom, you're not going to buy a business probably, but you're going to know how to do a deal with anybody anywhere from going through this. And the difference between being owned and being an owner is really understanding structure. And so like I have a couple things that we talk about there, but like in real estate, it's kind of hard. You can't structure it a ton of different ways. In buying a business, I mean, we have a kid in our mastermind. He's 23 years old. He's in college. He's a total overachiever, and he's bought 2 businesses that do $250,000 in revenue that equate to $175,000 in profit with $1,000 down for both businesses.
Oh, wow.
$1,000.
Wow.
And the way he does that is through how we teach him to structure the deal. So that's structuring.
Wow.
Then the next stage is closing the deal. So what are like the legal docs you need? How do you make sure that you have an accountant to do it? How do you do it without spending a bunch of money and keep it pretty cheap? And just make sure everything's tied up nicely. And then finally, we get to your first 90 days. You've closed the deal. It's awesome. You're a business owner. You're cash flowing. Now what do you do with the business? And so that's sort of the deal making process we take people through.
So wow, you went through the entire process for real. Okay, so like let's focus on one of those is finding a deal. I know it's more to it than that, but
Yep.
I guess a lot of it is just like you say, just stuff that you use, and you're probably already dealing with the owner in some situations already. Like I go to this cleaners also. And he and I, this guy, you know, because of, I don't know if you noticed, well, I don't know if you consumed in my content, but I rarely wear any shirts that don't promote something.
I know, it's so smart. I got to start doing that.
It's rare. And so, so he cleaned some of the shirts, t-shirts, when people laugh at me when I take t-shirts to the cleaners, whatever. But anyway, so he said, wow, what is this? You know, what is this? You know, I looked it up online and stuff. So he and I just engage about, you know, what he does and, you know, what I've done. So would a cleaners be a potential?
So it can be. The thing you got to be careful with dry cleaners, that's what you're talking about, right? Like a dry cleaners?
Dry cleaner, I'm sorry. Yes.
So from a real estate perspective, one weird thing about dry cleaners is they can pollute the underground soil on the establishment, and you don't want to have to pay for the remediation or the like detoxifying of land. It could be crazy expensive.
Oh, wow.
So what you could do with a deal like that, I would never buy one, but you could do a rev share or a profit sharing deal where you're like, hey man, I got this platform and I talk to a bunch of people all the time and I tell them about, you know, building and, you know, whatever. I tell them about getting better style and doing that in order to make sure people take them seriously or whatever. So I could bring a bunch of people to your dry cleaners and you could do the same thing I did, which is like, if I brought a bunch of people, could I get part equity in your business, right? You could do something like that. Or you could say, I want to invest in your business as a minority owner. That way you don't have liability if you're a minority owner.
Mhm.
And you could say, how about I help you go acquire a couple other dry cleaners if you like this guy? And like, instead of this one spot, let's go buy those 2 over there that aren't running so good like yours does.
Mhm.
And I know how to do deals. I'll do the deal for you. But when I put them all together, you'll run them and I'll get a percentage of all the businesses.
Oh,
So
wow.
those are 2 things you could do. And I love that model. I'm investing in a dental lab company. Like, you know, when you go to the dentist and like if you have to like get a new tooth or
Correct.
I don't know, braces or something, they send those molds and everything that the dentist does to a dental lab.
Wow.
So we're doing a deal where we're buying 8 dental labs. And the guy who is doing this, it's called a roll up. That's when you buy a lot of the same company and you put them all together. And the guy who's running the biggest of those labs right now is going to run all of them. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
you know, I help him put together the deal, but then I just cash flow on it and he does all the work and I'm into that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, so let's put a twist on this.
Yeah.
From what I normally teach on a daily basis. So, have you ever participated in a deal or know someone that basically did everything to put the deal together and just wholesaled the deal?
Oh, that's a good, yeah, totally. So that's a great point. That would be like brokering the deal. So you know what the interesting part is? So you doing that is basically what investment bankers do.
Wow.
Which
Okay.
is cool if you think about that.
Yeah.
So what does an investment banker do? An investment banker, you know, you are like, I come to you and I'm like, you have this awesome company. You have this media company over here. You have all this different stuff you do. I'm going to put it all together. I'm going to make up a bunch of numbers, but because I put it all together, your company is doing about $2 million in revenue. That means we can sell your company for 2 to 3x revenue, maybe, or maybe $1 million in profit, 2 to 3x profit. So I'm going to put this deal all together, make it look nice, and then I'm going to shop it to a bunch of people. And I'm going to find you a buyer for your business. And then I'm going to take a percentage of the total transaction. The typical fee that investment banker charges is 5 to 10%. So you take 5 to 10% of the deal and somebody else gets the deal. But the cool part is, since we're doing this on a micro scale, there's no norms. So if you're like, I don't have the money, but I'm going to sell it to somebody else, you could say, I want 5% of the total transaction or the total cost of the deal, but I also want 5% of the cash flow of the business. And so you could become a cash flowing owner in a business by doing that. That's interesting. I've never done it, but that is an entire model in, it just doesn't happen. This is called, so there's middle market, there's lower middle market, and then there's micro cap PE, basically is like levels of size. And so at the micro cap PE level, that's like anything less than $5 million in revenue. So that's where we play, because there aren't really investment bankers or what you call wholesalers in there doing exactly what you talked about.
It's too small for them. It's not worth, quote unquote, not worth their time. So,
exactly.
but it's probably more of those than the other, right?
Oh, there's for sure more than those.
Yeah.
And they're much easier deals to do. And, you know, but if I'm you, don't just take 5 to 10%. Get a piece of the cash flowing pie. Because then, you know, when we talk about a market going sideways, then you keep getting paid, as opposed to I don't know about in real estate, but in my world, in investing, in finance investing, when the market goes sideways, deals kind of dry up. People get nervous. They don't want to allocate money. They don't want to hand out money. And so, but if I own a bunch of cash flowing businesses, some small percentages, then I don't have to do deals for a year. Right? I can just like have the money come into me. But if all I've done is one-time deals, which is called transactional, then I might be in trouble in a downturn.
Correct. So with that being said, what you mentioned your product and your service. So people that are watching this, I'm sure they already know of a situation, just like I was talking about the dry cleaning. I'm sorry, the laundromat guy that you know, he and I chat whenever I do go in there. So a lot of people watching this have those relationships with business owners, and there may be an opportunity there. So if someone wanted to just get their feet wet or whatever, do you take referrals? And if so, how do you compensate for those? And just if you could go by explain that for us.
So yeah, if you have like good deals and you want to send them to me, for sure. I don't think we've ever, I've paid 10% for a business somebody sent me before. But I don't do that a ton. I usually do deals with people I know, because it's kind of like getting into a marriage, you know? And so, but if the best way to do that is probably, let's think about this. Well, I'm really active on Twitter. It's Codie_Sanchez on Twitter. I check my DMs all the time. And then at unconventionalacquisitions.com, we actually give you our email address. My partner checks it every day. He runs that business. And so if you have deals you like, either DM me on Twitter or send them to unconventionalacquisitions.com. I think the email is info@unconventionalacquisitions.com. I'd love to see deals that you guys think are out there. And then I also think like taking the course that we do there is awesome. We have a mastermind group too, but that's really, I don't think you should join the mastermind unless you are going to buy a business this year and have at least $100,000 to allocate. Starting in January, that group will be a lot smaller because it's expensive, and I only want people to join it if they have enough money to turn that $10,000 into $100,000 or $200,000, which is what I can teach them to do. But you have to have some money to do that usually.
So the to access that course or the mastermind, just go to the website
unconventionalacquisitions.com. Yes. Yeah. Or an easier one is contrarianthinking.co.
Okay.
That one's a free newsletter too, so you can do either way.
All right. Boom. All right. So so we got the side of it on the referrals, and those that want to learn how to do this, they can access the website also. All right.
Yep.
Now, just before we get out of here, what would you share with anyone that they've watched this? You provided a lot of value here, instructions, and why you want to do this. Well, before I ask you that, we talked about businesses. Your sweet spot is normally businesses with 5 million in revenue or less. You
Yeah.
know, do you have an actual number as far as the number of businesses that would exist in that realm nationwide?
Yeah.
I know it's a lot. I know I'm just probably throwing it out there, but you may know. How
Yes.
large is that market? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So it is definitely underreported. So it's hard to get the exact number, but they say there's about 2.5 million businesses that are for sale that are for sale, mind you. That is actively listed or reported
Oh
deals
wow!
in the US. If we're talking about total number, I mean, we're talking about tens of millions.
Yeah.
So, there's 47% of all Americans are employed by small businesses, which would fall into this category.
Uh-huh.
So the category is huge and
Yeah.
growing every day. So there's nothing but operate. And then the other crazy statistic, and again, these numbers are hard to get. These numbers are all from Biz Buy Sell,
Mhm.
which is kind of like MLS for business buying, Biz Buy Sell, or flippa.com with
Yeah.
two P's,
Mhm.
FLIPPA. But only 1 out of 11 small businesses that are currently publicly listed will sell inside of a 12-month period. So,
Wow.
like, imagine that in real estate. You have 11 houses on a street for an entire year, and one of them
Oh, really
sells.
fast, yeah.
Like, that would only be like Detroit in the 90s, right? Like, that doesn't exist now.
Yeah.
No?
Wow. Wow. So, and then how does the baby boom, demographic factor into this? Even though I know a lot of them are already retired,
Yeah.
and a lot of those have started businesses. And the same thing with houses. A lot of times you may find a guy that has a rental portfolio, a couple of houses or whatever, and the kids are not interested. They
Yeah.
benefited from dads or moms, hard work of building that empire of that income, probably put them through college or whatever,
Yeah.
but they have
Mhm.
zero interest in it. So I would assume that a lot of baby boomers have businesses that they're ready to retire, and it's the same thing. So, is that a real thing, or am I thinking I'm not thinking right on that?
No, you're nailing it. I mean, it's hard to find exact data on this, so mine's more experiential. But my joke is always that 99.9% of baby boomers' kids just want to be TikTok stars. Like they don't want to run the plumbing company even if it makes millions of dollars a year. So there are tens of thousands of baby boomers retiring every day, and there's statistics that vary that from 10 to 20% of those baby boomers own small businesses. And most of those small businesses, they just shut down. They don't even, I mean, can you imagine that in real estate? Like you just like are done with the house. So you're like, well, I'm just going to tear down the house and
Yeah,
leave it and do nothing. That would make no sense. But
yeah.
that's what people do in businesses all day because it's hard to find the other side of the market. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for all of us to give these baby boomers some retirement cash, right? And simultaneously for us to take on the business going forward.
Wow. So just to go by, just to end this up. So what advice would you give someone that's looking to do this, just from the actual, just bare bones beginning?
Yeah. Well, first, you just need to learn. You need to, I mean, we put out a ton of free content on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We have 2 free newsletters that each send an email each week, thousands of words on how to do this specifically. So, like, I think for the first 30 days, spend 20 minutes a day. That's it. Like, while you're going to work or, while you're sitting somewhere instead of Netflix, and just learn about business buying. Because by the end of that 30 days, it's kind of like when you go to buy a new car, like let's say you buy like a BMW and like
Mhm.
a specific one. And before you even are thinking about buying that BMW, you don't notice it anywhere. You don't notice it. And then you
Correct.
buy it and you're like, they're everywhere. I see them everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, that's
And
what
so
cars
the
are.
second that you start learning and you get past that first learning curve of what does it mean to buy a business, you're going to see opportunities everywhere. and then you're going to be able to start executing. And so then you can take my course, or you can, take, there's tons of books on the subject. You can start learning in any way from sideways to actually take action. But spend that first 30 days, just 20 minutes a day learning.
Oh, wow. Guys, I'll have a link in the description of this video and probably at the top of the comments also, so you can access her course and everything very easily. So again, Codie, I really, really appreciate you sharing this information and your time with the audience here. And guys, she's giving you a unique way of making money and looking at things differently when you walk into a particular business, especially the owner, and you've probably been sometimes your whole life or whatever. There just may be an opportunity just right there for you. So again, Codie, we really, really appreciate you providing us this information and your time. And I always like to say, guys, we will see you on the flip side.
Love it. Thank you for having me.
Boom, you made it. Hopefully that video helped. If you need to find cash buyers anywhere, tap this video here. Make sure you follow me, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the flip side.